Hi, and welcome. Welcome to Your Work Uncomplicated, Overcoming Hurdles to Productivity. I am so excited that you're here with me. Let's jump in. Remember, your job is always the same. Take away 3 single, simple, doable things and implement them immediately. I don't mean this second, but within a day or tomorrow, or maybe within a week. So let's just jump into the first hurdle. I am being pulled in 10 different directions. Have you ever felt like that? Okay, maybe you feel like you're being pulled in 20 different directions. So what are you going to get from this module? The first thing is that you're going to be more focused on working and playing better. That sounds good, right? Number 2 is that you're going to know which activities support you doing that. And number 3 is which activities don't support you doing that. Ready? Let's go. Now, I want you to take a look at this because we're talking about intentional focus. Being pulled in 10 different directions can sometimes mean that you're not focused on the right things. I made this the first module for a reason. You have to get a handle on the pace of your work and your life. Because if that pace is constantly in a state of reactivity, it's not sustainable. So I want you to take a look at this slide. It references your time usage into 4 quadrants. You may have seen this before. Stephen Covey is famous for this, but he actually unpacked it from something called the tyranny of urgency. So take a look at these quads. Quad 1 is the quadrant of important and urgent activities. You can see what makes those quads up. Quad 2 is important but not urgent, and you can see those activities. Quad 3 is not important and yet urgent. And quad 4 is not important and not urgent. Now, take a second and look at these. And then ask yourself, where am I? Which quad do I spend most of my day in? You don't spend all your time in any one quad, but there's usually one that's predominant. So take a look and see what you think. Now, when I ask this question in a live session, I usually get 1 or 2 answers. It's I spend a lot of time in quad 1, and I'm spending time in quad 3, or I'm spending time in quad 1 and quad 3. So let's take a closer look at this. Each one of these quads has a name. Quadrant 1 is the quadrant of necessity, because these things happen to you. You've done everything you can do to get to the airport on time, and there's an accident. And now you can't get to the airport. That is a crisis situation, nothing you can do about it. Quad 2 is the quadrant of leadership and quality. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Quad 3 is the quadrant of deception, because you either fool yourself or somebody else fools you into thinking that it's important. So it's their important, it becomes your urgent. Does that sound familiar? Quad 4 is the quadrant of waste. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not waste. Wait a minute, waste? I'm looking at those activities and they look pretty chill to me, Sean. So I get that, all right? Some of it, sometimes you need this mindlessness just to kind of get off the grid. But I want you to think about that and dig a little bit deeper and say, hey, you know what? If I'm actually off the grid and I carve out time, say on Sunday afternoon, to watch the Eagles, is that a waste of time? Well, frankly, it depends on the year. But since it's Philly, they can break your heart every time. But we'll talk about that another time, okay? But is that actually needed recreation? And if it is needed recreation a quad 4? No, it's actually a quad 2 activity. So if you are primarily in quad 1 and quad 3, where should you be? Yeah, where are you the most productive, right? Quad 2. Quad 2 is where you get the most productive, where you get the most quality of life comes out of those quad 2 activities. So if we want to be in quad 2 and we're in 1 and 3, what do? So first, you manage quad 1. You manage it by dealing with the crisis, spending as little time as you can, getting out and knowing where you left off. And that's going to be a big thing we're going to talk about. Quad 3, you minimize. Okay, so I've got meetings. How do I minimize getting out of meetings, Sean? Well, you could decline them all. Well, probably not. That's not going to work, okay? But you could decline some. Or you could ask yourself, is there an agenda for this? You could ask the facilitator, is there an agenda? And based on that agenda, what's my responsibility to the meeting? Do I have to go? Maybe, maybe not. So in that way, you can minimize some of the times you spend in some meetings. Okay, what about other people's expectations? You deliver ABC and it is the best ABC anyone has ever produced. Problem? They don't want ABC. They want a DEF. So what do? How do you minimize that wasted time when you do something like that? So you could ask, right? So the sentence that I like and recommend when it comes to getting clear on expectations is, let me be clear. Let me be clear is about the thing. It's not about me not being smart enough to figure out what I'm trying to do, which is actually a possibility, but that's a different story. And it's not about my manager that she's not good at giving directions. It's about the thing. So when it comes to quad 3, the overarching way to manage this and minimize it is through communication, by gently pushing back, asking good questions, checking in with your commitment to the meeting or the report or mail, whatever it is, okay? Quad 4, you avoid because you have 100% control over it. In fact, it's the only one you do have 100% control over, which is a little sad, isn't it? Okay? And quad 2, you focus. Now, if you focus on those activities that are in quad 2, what will happen to the time you spend in the other quads? It'll be reduced, right? So here's the thing about quad 2. When it comes to focusing on these activities, knowing specifically what they are can be really helpful. So let's look at some street level stuff here. Now, you may have seen this. You may know this principle, the 80-20 principle. It was invented by a 19th century economist named Vilfredo Pareto. And you probably didn't know that, but I do. And you know why I know that? Because I have a brother who's an economist who feeds me worthless pieces of information. And I have that brother and 2 others to spare, okay? Basically, what this says is that 20% of your activities push out 80% of your results. Yikes. 20% of what we do results in 80% of what we have to get done. What's the other 80%? It's those other quads. So when it comes to 20% activity, here's the thing about this, is they are overarching on both personal and business. It's not strictly one or the other. There are things that when you do them personally, they pay off across the board, right? Getting enough sleep, eating well, eating nutritiously, exercising. And here's the thing, exercising is the first thing we give away when we get busy. Our time to self-care is what we give away. Now, when it comes to work activities, your 20% activities, I want you to take a second and think, what are a couple of things that when I do it, it really pays off? It really makes a difference. So I'm just going to pause here just for a second. Maybe you think about them or you write them down. So, litmus test. If you asked your manager, hey, these are the things that I think I should be working on. Question number 1 is, would your manager agree with you? Hopefully the answer to that is yes. And question number 2 is, what quad are they in? And if they are a real 20% activity, they will always be in quad 2. Prevention, planning, recognizing opportunities, relationship building, and needed recreation. So keep that in mind. That's where you want to live, in quad 2. Now, when it comes to helping you remember and keeping focus in mind, inside the Module 1 resource is a copy of this slide, okay? And it's called, What Quad Am I In? And I want you to print it out. And then I want you to stick it up on your wall or your computer. You know why? Because some days you're going to come to work and you're not going to be able to see quad 2 with a pair of binoculars. That's how far out of it you are. So knowing that this is not where I do my best work, right there it makes you more productive. Just knowing that I need to get out of this, deal with whatever this is, get out and get back into quad 2. So print that and keep it with you. So why is intentional focus so important? It's important because if you are not intentionally focused on quad 2 activities, guess what? The world will find something for you to focus on, and it may not be what you want. So over the next 9 modules, you're going to learn 100 things that are going to keep you focused on prevention, planning, recognizing opportunities, relationship building, and needed recreation. So remember all the resources that are available to you. First, I want you to print, am I in quad 2? And then you're gonna stick it up on your wall, remember? Also, this video is available to you to go back to as a refresher or a reminder. Don't forget to capture your 3 single, simple, doable things and add them to your to-do list. Oh, you don't have a to-do list? Well, guess what? By the end of module 2, you will have a to-do list that is going to be awesome, okay? Then send those 3 things to me, to your manager. Hey, and let your manager know, these are some things that I learned from this lesson. They're gonna learn from you as well. Don't forget to send them to me because I will hold you accountable, okay? It's super easy to do. There's my email address right there. So thank you so much for being with me again. I appreciate your time. Keep an eye out for Coffee with Kershaw. Those invitations will be coming your way. They are the jump on, jump off, open office hour meetings that we're gonna have. You can just come, get questions answered, talk to your peers. Don't forget that you also have one-on-one sessions with me that are available. Don't spend time trying to figure something out when you and I could do it in like that, okay? So don't miss out on that opportunity. There's my contact information right there. You know how to get a hold of me. Now, next time, we're gonna talk about hurdle number 2. I have so much to do. It's a good one. You're gonna love this, okay? Don't forget, let this lesson sink in for a week or so before you move on to the next one, okay? Give yourself the freedom to experience the awesome changes that you're making before jumping in to making more changes. So thank you for being on this very first lesson, the beginning of your trek to getting better organized, more productive. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.